All right, we have our second group going for PYPX 2021. They've been looking at some things that we love. I know that we are very big fans of graphic novels and comics and animation, and they have a lot to tell us about that, as well as telling us about how they worked as a group and how they have worked individually. So I will give them the stage and let them start.
Hello, welcome to our exhibition project. We are Mathilde, Flora, and Tiffany. Our project is about comics and animation.
You guys can turn and talk to the person next to you about what you think the definition of animation and comics is. I will say go, and I will clap when you have to stop. Raise your hand when you have an idea. Go.
Okay.
Animation can be in movies. Graphic novels. Like hi,
Does anyone have an idea about the definition of animation? Coco.
I think animation is kind of like Charlie said, it is kind of like anime and a comic kind of made into real life.
Claudia?
A comic is like a graphic novel with a lot of pictures and usually with like a lot of action words there was up on the screen.
Ryan?
Stop motion.
Okay.
Does anyone have the definition of comics? Noah?
It's basically an animation, but in pictures, and there's a bit of writing, but the pictures mostly tell a story.
Yeah. Ella?
A comic is, it can be like a graphic novel, so almost, I know, I don't think I've read a comic, but I definitely know comics and graphic novels are kind of the same.
Yeah.
But not really.
Gus?
I think it's kind of like a graphic novel, but the drawing is kind of like pop art, and like Noah said, it's usually pictures that tell the story.
The definitions of our topics that we got from Oxford Languages are:
For animation, it is the technique of photographing successive drawings or positions of puppets or models to create an illusion of movement when the film is shown as a sequence, which is basically 24 photos or drawings in a second, going after the other, looking like the characters or objects have movement.
The definition of comic is a magazine that presents a serialized story in the form of a comic strip, typically featuring the adventures of a superhero.
Why we chose this topic. I chose to do animation and comics because I am interested in how people make and animate the characters, and I also like drawing.
I choose comics because one of my hobbies is doing comics and drawing. I was thinking that I wanted to know more about the topic, for example, how to do more professional drawings and better comics.
I chose this topic because I'm really interested in how all of the Pixar and DreamWorks movies were made. I also wonder how animators make the movies, and I like learning about how character designers make the characters.
Our central idea is how we expressed our creative thinking impacts ourselves, others, and the future.
These are the people we interviewed. Daisy Vizers, editor and motion designer. Diego Romero, photographer and cinematographer. And
Robert van der Haar works at Groninger Forum. Matt Smith, cartoonist. And Christine Shen, comic seller.
our first inquiry question is, what are some of the problems that animators and cartoonists go through when making an animation or comic?
We believe that comics and animation take time and are sometimes really difficult to make.
We learned that you need a lot of patience to make and design a comic or an animation.
Some steps you should think of are:
what will be the storyline?
What are the characters' personalities?
And who is your target audience?
This report proves that comics and animations have a lot of problems and decisions that need to be made. Anyone who works with comics or animation needs to be a problem solver and someone who can make decisions that are sometimes easy and sometimes quite difficult and involve a lot of steps. Okay. We are going to show you one of the animations that we made.
What do you think the message was? Claudia?
To recycle.
Noah?
To like not like throw stuff on the ground or litter.
Yeah. And Bo?
Help our planet.
Okay.
The message was take care of our earth and try to recycle when you can.
Our second inquiry question is, what jobs are there in the animating process and where do they appear?
There are many different types of animation, so there are many jobs involved. We train all and some are different and some come up in more than one type of animation.
These are common jobs that came up more than once in different types of animation.
A film director? They manage the creative aspects of the movie. A film producer? Producers have overall responsibility for an animation production. And an editor? An editor shapes the whole animation.
Background designers design the scenery around or on top of where the animation happens. Graphic designers work with sound, colors, artwork, photography, and software. Illustrators draw and show the animators their ideas and use their talent to convey ideas.
Character designers visualize and create the look of individual characters. Storyboard artists help the head of story create a visual representation of the animation narrative. We are going to show you another of the animations that we made.
What do you think the message was? Marina?
Like to be kind to everyone.
Yeah. Jules? Nope. Vincent?
Animation is hard.
Okay. Rishti?
When someone's hurt, mentally or physically, you should help them.
The message was to be kind to people and help them out. Our third inquiry question is, what is the link between comics and animation?
We believe that comics and animation are linked, but distantly.
Animation and comics might not seem that different. They are storytelling with visual dialogue, and they both take a lot of time.
With research, it says people normally think that animation and comics are the same thing.
People also use manga, Japanese comic, and anime, Japanese animation, as if they are the same thing.
Or they think that they can seamlessly jump from one field to another, even though they are a bit similar, and animation is a distant cousin to a comic.
For example, comics are on pages and animations are moving on a screen. Animations are more involved with tech, and comics are more old-fashioned on a good old piece of paper. Comics can be made by one person or a small team, but animations require a whole bunch of people.
Okay, we are going to show another animation. We did a lot.
message was. Mila?
Be caring to others when they need help.
Ryan?
Be caring.
Okay. Noah?
And not leave people alone by themselves and to help.
The message was to care about people. Our learner profile attribute goals are:
My learner profile attribute goal was being an inquirer. Steps that I took to achieve the goal were to research, and I did more work at home. If I had a question about animation or comics, I asked it on Google or to the people we interviewed.
My learning profile attribute goal I chose to work on was being balanced, because I wasn't organizing a lot of my time to read books, go to sports, etc. But I think I am being better at being more balanced.
My learner profile attribute goal I chose to work on was being reflective. I got there by reminding myself to check back on my work and making sure my work makes sense. Now I am better at being reflective, but I am still working on it. Our topics impacted us because we watch, make, and read comics or animations sometimes on Scratch, and they have good life lessons and I can learn from them.
It also impacted us because we really love doing comics and drawing. I also really like watching animations. For me, both are really fun.
Our topic impacts us because when we see an animation and it has a good moral, we learn a lesson from it.
Animations and comics impact others because we could all learn a lot of new things from comics and animations. There could be morals or life lessons that can help you become a better person.
It can also impact others because you can learn a lot of things from comics. You can learn how to read, learn about a new topic, or maybe learn about yourself. And from animations, you can learn about a topic that you don't know a lot about and you learn in a fun way.
It can also impact others because others might see animations and comics that make you learn something, and you can be your better self when you learn from those lessons.
It might impact the future because in the future, maybe there will be other animations or comics that will have an even bigger impact on people, like global warming or helping the people with no food, also helping endangered animals.
Maybe in the future, I might have a situation where I can use what I have learned about comics and animation. What we learn about ourselves. What I learned about myself, what I learned that surprised me about myself, was that I love so much doing comics, but you need to be very calm to make one, to follow the process and make the correct steps.
What I learned that surprised me about myself was that I am really interested in animation and comics, and I want to try make some.
What I learned that surprised me about myself was that I have gotten even more interested in animation and comics even after learning a lot. When I learn an interesting thing, I want to research even more about it.
We are going to show you another of the animations that we've made.
Wait for part 2. The most important thing I learned that it can take a really long time to make an animation, and also there are a lot of jobs in both the comic and animation process.
I learned a lot of important things about comics and animation. For example, animation has 2 main types and many more types like 3D or 2D. And this for me was really interesting about animation. For comics, I really like that they have a lot of jobs on the production, like the director, the speaker, and the color maker, etc.
I learned that you have to be really patient when making an animation because there is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. The most interesting thing for me was that professional animations and movies use 24 frames or pictures in just 1 second of the animation to make it look like a smooth animation.
The most interesting thing for me was that it can take a lot of people and time to make an animation. It was also interesting that you need to make the frames very fluent, smoothly graceful, and effortless, so it looks real.
The most interesting thing for me was that comics can take 1 year or even more to make just the middle of the comic. Not always, but sometimes. Okay, we're going to show the part 2 of the video that before.
Wait for part 3. How comics and animations are connected to other things. Comics and animation are related because they both include dialogue, visuals, a storyboard, and lots of time and effort.
I think comics and animation are kind of related. Both have drawings, some photos, characters, a story, and the characters have a lot of dialogue too.
Animation is connected to comics because it includes mostly pictures, and there are jobs like making the characters that are used in both. To make an animation and to make a comic, you have to be patient, and you have to be patient with a lot of things too. The challenges and problems. At one point, we reached some dead ends with our inquiry questions, but then we thought of another question to research, so we found some more information.
We weren't sure what to do for the PYPX at the start because we didn't know whether to do comics or animation.
Then we decided to research about books. Okay, it's the last part of the video that we made. Okay.
What do you think the message was?
To be friendly.
Okay. Jules?
Be friendly.
Okay. And what happened? Claudia?
You already took me, but to include others.
The message was to be friendly to people and be welcoming to new people. I used to think that animations and comics did not take very long to make. Now I know that it takes a lot of effort, time, and people to make both animations and comics.
I used to think that there was only one type of animation. Now I think that there are lots of types, and some are more traditional and some are more high-tech.
I used to think that comics and animation were really easy to do. Now I think that there are a lot of times and difficult steps. What we still wondering about? I am still wondering about how much time it takes to make an entire comic, like days, weeks, months, years.
I'm still wondering about how people make characters, backgrounds, and the plot.
I'm still wondering about the steps and the process famous or professional animators went through and the mistakes they made along the way. We decided to try to make a different type of animation than we normally do.
We made the plasticine characters and tried to follow all of the steps that we learned you should take when you make any kind of story sharing. This is us making the characters.
You gotta press play.
It's kind
It's a little bit blurry.
yeah.
And this is our final video.
I like the big one.
We also made a different stop motion to explore. Oh, sorry. Oh, audience, what do you think the message was in our stop motion video? Sebastian.
Well, I think it's kind of like, I think it was the first one. It's kind of like that one, like recycling, and yeah. When it,
Lila?
Everybody should recycle, not just one person, because if we all work together, we can do it.
Go.
I forgot.
And go.
Kind of the same as what Marla said. Like if you work together with people, you can get things done more quickly than if you worked alone.
The message was that we need to take care of our earth and that together we can make a difference.
We also made a different stop motion to explore stop motion even more.
This is it.
Mr. Principal. What do you think the moral was for this stop motion? Christy?
Don't bully. You'll only make it worse for yourself.
Carla?
Don't bully, be a friend.
Gus?
Be a friend, not a bully.
The message was don't bully, be a friend.
We also took some action by making a scratch studio with all kinds of lessons through animations we made. We have shared some of the videos throughout the presentation.
We designed the characters ourselves, and hopefully someone learns something when they go by our animations.
You should also take action and spread messages through animation or comics.
Try to make all together a comic or animation and try to discover different types.
Try to make an animation and have fun. Try to read or watch the following comics or animations that we recommend. El Defo by Cece Bell. Smile, Sisters, and Guts by Raina Telgemeier. It's a series of 3. For the Birds is a short animation, and so is Piper. And Real Friends is a comic or a graphic novel.
Okay, this is our website where we kept all of our links that we use for information. Yeah.
These are our these are our surveys. My survey was the top one. My question was, what animation companies have you watched more animations of? The survey choices were Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, and Warner Bros. and other. You can see that most people said that they have watched more animations of Disney. The least chosen watched animation company was Warner Bros.
Okay. My survey was, do 5VM students watch more animation or read more comics? Survey choices, comics, animations, both, none, or other. The most voted on 5VM was both, and the last one was other.
My survey question was, which do you like most, reading comics or watching animations? The survey choices were animation, comics, both, or neither. You can see that most students in 5LVM liked both animations and comics, and neither was the option chosen the least.
We want to say thank you to Carla and
We want to say thank you to Carla and Louise, my mom and dad, for helping us find interviews.
thank you Cecilia and Andrea, my mom and dad, for getting us interview and support.
Thank you, Francis and Simon, my parents, for supporting us and getting us interviews.
And thank you Ms. Amir for helping us and guiding us.
These are all of the links that we used. And
Does anyone have any questions? Noah?
My question is, like, do you know how to, like, put voices on the animations? Because usually animations also have voices on it.
We haven't really figured out how to do that yet, but I think we will.
I think that there was like some kind of thing on the stop motion videos that we could do.
Yeah. Claudia?
And on Scratch.
For the animations we did like one person do the first video, another person do the second video, or did you all work together?
Oh yeah, Matilda did the first 3 videos and I did the one with the theme park.
And Flora did the one with the
Funko Pops.
Funko
and
Pops
the little-
characters.
And we did all together the one with the little monsters.
The stop, yeah.
Ryan?
And
Did you draw all of that?
We drew all the ones in the Scratch.
So what we do is we copy paste what was in before. What I do, I think that Tiffany does it differently because there might be lots of ways to do it. But what I do is I just copy paste it and change like the leg a little
slightly.
bit or something like that. And that's how you make that's how I make the animation.
I also have another question. Where did you find did you like find on the internet the background for the second to last stop motion?
The
Oh,
stop
the-
motion with characters.
monsters
Yeah.
one?
We used
We used
a
a
set.
set.
It was on my house. I one thing that I found on my house was like backgrounds and things for Play-Doh and stuff like that.
And we added some like the trash cans and a poster. Maybe
Yeah.
you saw it.
And the trash.
And
Oh, Jules.
This isn't a question necessarily, but I really noticed how the quality of the animations improved the later we got into the animations. Because the first one, it was a little crude, to be honest.
That was my
But-
first one.
Yeah, but when we got to the last one, it was actually quite a smooth animation.
Idea of practice. I'm going to ask you another question. If you had the exhibition to do all over again, what would you do differently?
I think me, I was going to do like, a little bit more work maybe, and trying to, we focus a lot, but maybe a little bit more on like not being so distracted that I think every group have kind of distracted, yeah, but just that. We all work it really well.
What I would do is focus a little bit more on comics because we didn't make a comic, and mostly we focused a little bit more on animation. So, like, if I had to do it over again, I would focus a little bit more on comics.
Yeah, kind of the same as Matilda. I would also focus more on comics because you see that we did more animations on the slides every now and then. Yeah, maybe added a comic in there or something.
Okay. Thank you for listening and to our presentation, and goodbye.
very much. This group has talked a lot about how you work together, and there was really, really great harmony for the most part with the team, working together, doing all of the creating that you have done. And as Jules pointed out, the more we practice at something, the more techniques we learn and the better we get at it. And you clearly spent a lot of time with your animations, practicing, doing them, trying things, seeing what worked. I know some of you talked to me when we were in class about some complications you had and how you overcame those complications and didn't give up. Really well done. Also, I was going to talk about, has just escaped me, the time that you spend once you got into your animations and the passion that you have, and also I feel like you have even more passion for your topic than when you first began, and you already were really excited about your topic. So I'm excited to see what other things you create, and maybe thinking about taking some action, working with a comic, and maybe having some messages, moral messages in the comics that you create. So we have some time to do that, so we'll see where we go with that. So once again, a huge round of applause. Well done. Nice job. Also, just while I have your attention, yesterday, this group had all of their stop motions and all of their videos at the end. And I said, okay, well, let's, for audience participation, see if you can move those throughout your presentation and then keep your audience's attention more. So I know that took you a lot of time to change that. And you did that all on your own, and it was so smooth. You also wrote lines to go with what you were doing, and I love the fact where you broke it up into part 1, part 2, part 3, because you kept all of our attention. We were like, okay, what's going to happen in this video? Really, really well done for all that last minute hard work too. Nice job.